extra virgin olive oil is true, in my opinion, preventative medicine.
Dr. Johnson, it's so good to reconnect. It's so good to have you here with us. You're just a wealth of information. And, we're hearing so much right now about olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, EVOO. I've been in the industry, the health and nutrition industry, going on about 37 years. I don't know where I was. And all of a sudden, it's like I'm being baptized in olive oil right now because I'm getting so much information that I never knew about olive oil.
Well, and great segue, because again, similar to our conversation, it you're taking that ancestral wisdom, and now with our cutting edge science that we have, and understanding why olive oil has been around a millennium, and why it's been used by ancient providers, and of course they didn't know at the time why it was doing what it was doing, and they were using it for the entire body, including not only ingesting but also for skin and healing wounds, and again, they didn't quite understand the mechanisms, and now we're understanding the mechanisms, and that's what makes it fun about extra virgin olive oil, is that the science, independent studies. I mean, if you get on PubMed and type in EVOO, numerous studies, and now they're even taking it further and studying each individual compound, which certainly something we can get into if we have time. But the biggest hurdle that I'm finding in being in the medical field is when I talk to people about olive oil, is they're understanding. Most of them know that there's benefits, and they know that there's health benefits. They don't know all the health benefits, but their biggest hurdle is they don't understand that there's a difference between the quality of olive oil. And I think that information is starting to take hold, and people are understanding, okay, I need to find a good, reliable, trusted source. And that's a huge hurdle for people, because they're not sure what they're buying at their local grocery store is that, optimal, high quality of olive oil. And that's why it's important to understand the brand that you align with, and how important it is that it is a high quality, because the higher the quality, the more health benefits. And low quality, unfortunately, can actually be somewhat detrimental, because the way that it's manufactured, the way that it's bottled, the way that it sits on a grocery store shelf, that can become what we call oxidized. So it actually can introduce inflammation into your system, instead of being the powerful anti-inflammatory that olive oil is.
Where do we get the olive oil? Where is it the best in the world? Where is it, receiving the awards? Who has the best? And that's kind of the where I'm at right now in my education process of olive oil.
And that's an excellent point. And so when you can align with a trusted source, you can have it shipped directly to your house, and knowing that source is trusted, it to me is a huge benefit. And so it takes kind of the guesswork out of it. And I know I'm getting a trusted source that's been, manufactured in a way that maintains the integrity of the nutrients and the benefits within the olive oil. The thing that's fun about olive oil is that, now in mainstream medicine, there is a grassroots movement, what we call, functional medicine, or approaching the body as a whole entity. And I think people are now understanding that, one symptom, one pill isn't always the solution. And so if I can consume something on a daily basis that will improve my entire health, and we kind of saw this through our most recent pandemic, in the United States, having only so many cases of that illness, but yet, a fair amount of deaths, is because the majority of the United States is in what we call a poor metabolic health. And so, and this goes down to the cellular level. And this is where olive oil becomes a player, with good science behind it, to show that it helps at the cellular level. And so if you truly want to regain your health, if you want to move that needle, you've got to really improve your lifestyle. And so if I'm, drinking a shot of olive oil and, in between cigarette smoking, I'm probably not going to move the needle, right? But if I'm improving my health and trying my best to stay as active as I can, and I introduce a high quality of olive oil into my daily routines, you're going to see tremendous benefits in several different areas of the body. And where most of the studies, really point to is our little friend that we call cardiovascular disease. And cardiovascular disease, we're talking about not only heart health, but cardiovascular disease, it trickles into brain health in the world of strokes, and we know that it also plays a role in the health of our blood vessels throughout the entire body. And so we know now in mainstream medicine that inflammation and chronic inflammation is a profound player. Cholesterol gets blamed quite a bit, but what you got to understand is just because cholesterol is at the scene of the crime doesn't mean it committed the crime. And so, in other words, your arteries are getting clogged because your arteries are inflamed from chronic inflammation, which is typically lifestyle. And there's certain things that we're exposed to daily that we really can't mitigate. And I'm talking about, electromagnetic fields and these type of things that, hey, it is what it is. It's part of our lifestyle now, but it does have the potential to disrupt what we call homeostasis or balance within the body. And so to consume something like, extra virgin olive oil daily, you're going to mitigate that, and you're going to be able to create an environment in your body that makes it very difficult for disease to set in, because the body, when you give it the right nutrients, will truly heal from the inside out.
Maybe dive into a little bit, Dr. Johnson, on is olive oil, is this something we really should be consuming? Is this something that's really important in our diet?
There's a difference between lifespan and health span. And this is where it's fun with, olive oil, is because a high quality olive oil will provide nutrients and benefits to the body that truly activate several pathways within the body, especially on a cellular level. And one that oftentimes is taken for granted is, and we're learning more about, and these are some fancy terms, but one of them that's called mitophagy and one of them that's called autophagy. And these are kind of Latin terms. These are the processes that are extremely important in the body that go around and clean up dead cells and cellular debris. And so as we age, we get more, it's kind of like, spring cleaning in the body. I mean, and so in other words, every now and then our garages get full of stuff and garbage and things that we don't need. And we go in and do some spring cleaning and clean that out and organize it. And we look at that and we're like, wow, that looks better. It's like organizing your workbench. And once you clean it up and organize it, it just feels like a much safer space. And the same thing's happening within the body on a daily basis. Is our body has these mechanisms and pathways to clean out dead cells, and which if those dead cells accumulate, then this is where it becomes a problem, in not only cardiovascular health, but also brain health, and then also degradation of our collagen, our skin ages. And so if we can reduce that, then we're going to age gracefully, and then, as I stated, have a much healthier health span, meaning I'm going to maintain my health up until the day that I'm moving on to the next venture in life. And genetics will play a role somewhat, but as we always say, genes load the gun, but your lifestyle will pull the trigger. So if you follow in Dad's footsteps and stay active and do the things that he's done, you're going to live a nice, healthy health span. But if you introduce things into your body that are toxic, then you're going to accelerate the aging process, and you're not going to enjoy those longevity genes. And so extra virgin olive oil and olive oil in itself has the nutrients that have been studied to show that it really does improve that health span in a multifaceted way. I mean, it's a nice natural anti-inflammatory. It's loaded with nutrients that we call polyphenols, and this is a term that we're hearing more and more about. And the importance of polyphenols is that they feed your good bacteria throughout the entire body. And we know that this microbiome, as we call it, not only is in the gut, but you got microbiome on your skin. You got microbiome. They say 95% of our DNA is not ours. It's bacteria that's within our system. And so if we can keep that bacteria healthy, we're going to age much more gracefully and maintain the health that we all desire, as we get older. And so these polyphenols feed those good bacteria in a beneficial way. And when you have more and you have healthy good bacteria, it's really difficult for bad bacteria to exist in that environment. And that's why it's extremely important to consume this daily, because like I said, those, and I think it's underappreciated, the benefits that those polyphenols provide. And well, how do I know that my olive oil has polyphenols? Well, one is that taste test. And so as as we've discussed, when you drink olive oil, you should feel a burn in the back of your throat, almost to where you got to clear your throat, type thing, because you can just feel that heat build up. And when you feel that, you're getting a nice, dose of those healthy polyphenols, and your good bacteria are going to thank you. And as they go to work on breaking that down, growing healthier bacteria, they create nutrients that are extremely beneficial for the rest of the body. And so you're going to see a reduction in, inflammatory markers, with good science behind this. You're going to see, which is a major player, as we stated, because we know cardiovascular disease, the basis is the inflammation. And the key is what's causing the inflammation. But at the same time, if I can consume olive oil, which has been shown to be a natural anti-inflammatory. But see, when we talk about that, we're not talking about, medications like ibuprofen and, that, or aspirin, that's been shown to be an anti-inflammatory. These are different pathways that reduce inflammation on a chronic basis and create a healthier environment within the body, so that, again, your body can thrive and really excel at trying to maintain that healthy environment. And so, yeah, this should be a staple in everyone's diet. And especially now that we know these other types of oils, some of the vegetable oils are not as healthy as they once were marketed to be. And we're understanding that they create inflammation within the system. And so olive oil has a clean record, in the sense of all studies have shown that it's extremely beneficial for, like I said, reducing that inflammation, providing the polyphenols, providing antioxidants, because oxidative stress, which is, you and I know that is rust, is a real player in creating disease within the body. And so anytime you can mitigate that, and you're going to, again, live healthier and feel better. And olive oil is certainly a staple to do that.
This whole thing about polyphenols, I didn't even know that word just, until a month or so ago. I started to research olive oil and polyphenols, and the things that are being linked to polyphenols: lowers LDL, improves HDL, reduces blood pressure, prevents strokes, fights blood clots. And this is exactly what you're saying, is the whole cardiovascular system.
And again, we're going to hear more and more about polyphenols, but it truly is a way to move that needle to improve your overall wellness and health. And mainly the way it's working is you're supplying nutrients again to the body, and the body will take it from there, right? And so when we consume something on a daily basis, our choice is what we put in our mouth. Once it goes below, the neck, now the body takes over, and we don't have much control over that. And, another area that olive oil has been shown to help tremendously is improving blood sugar control. And we know right now, back to that metabolic health, we know that, sugar is a real problem in the sense of spiking your blood sugar, which then spikes the hormone insulin. And insulin can be our best friend or our worst enemy. And so insulin, and most of us understand that in the world of diabetes, but you don't even have to have diabetes to have insulin wreak havoc on the system. And not only will it wreak havoc on the system in the sense of creating inflammation, but it's a growth hormone. And so if you have a lot of insulin, your fat cells will expand. It creates, the body doesn't like excessive amounts of its own hormones. There's that sweet spot, the right amount, that good old Goldilocks theory, right? And so when you have the right amount, then it becomes our best friend, and really can promote that, again, that homeostasis or balance within the body. And so, but insulin's been shown to be now a player in cardiovascular disease as well, and it wreaks havoc on your blood vessels if you have excessive amounts. And this is why people with diabetes are extremely higher risk for cardiovascular disease and extremely higher risk for brain decline, and insulin's being picked on, but insulin's reacting to our lifestyle. And so if I can consume something that's going to help keep my insulin at a beneficial level and help control my sugar blood levels, then you're going to be ahead of the ball game in creating a healthy environment within the body. And extra virgin olive oil has been shown to do that in multiple studies.
Maybe you could just recap for us a little bit about, you were mentioning before, even before the cameras were on, about what a trusted source you feel that we have found with olive oil and what we're doing with olive oil. Maybe you could just recap that a little bit about having a trusted source with olive oil.
And that's probably the biggest hurdle for most people, is knowing, which brand to go with, and where it comes from, where it's processed, how it's processed, and because unfortunately a lot of Me Too type products have jumped onto the market in the world of olive oil and have created, suboptimal products just to kind of get their toe in that marketplace. And so when you can find a source that you can trust, you're going to be miles ahead in consuming a beneficial nutrient like extra virgin olive oil. And in the world of medicine, it's really treatment based. And if we could truly do more preventative, then we're going to be ahead of the game and ahead of the crowd in improving our health. And extra virgin olive oil is true, in my opinion, preventative medicine, because it gives the body the nutrients it needs to really behave in a way that nature intended the body to live long and to live healthy. And so you're going to protect your heart, you're going to protect your brain, you're going to protect just about every organ system in the body. And even in some studies, we're seeing reversal of certain issues, and especially in the world of brain health and heart health. And so it's kind of crazy how it addresses so many different areas of the body, but it's because it addresses issues at the cellular level, right? And that's extremely important, and we're finally understanding why that's so beneficial.
Mm. Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson, for your time this morning. We really appreciate you, and we'll look forward to our next call together.
Okay, looking forward to it. Take care.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.